Christ Church sermon for August 21, Faithful Living is Dying. Hello, I am Melissa Stevens. I am a member in discernment at St. John in Bellevue, and I am grateful to be in your pulpit today. May God add rich blessings to this interpretation of his scriptures. I was chatting with a friend the other day, and she was looking forward to flying to Memphis from Cincinnati. She thinks that it's, quote, stupid that she has to fly through Atlanta. And I wondered, what does she know of the logistics of air flight, of the schedules of airports? She knows nothing of those things, and yet she has this very strong opinion about the schedule of her unique flight. And her strong opinion has the potential to cause stress, anxiety, maybe even anger on her travel day. Hear this wisdom from Chrysippus, a Greek philosopher from the 1st century BC. When a dog is tied to a cart, if it wants to follow, it is pulled and follows, making its spontaneous act coincide with necessity. But if the dog does not follow, it will be compelled in any case. So it is with men too. Even if they don't want to, they will be compelled to follow what is destined. Let's spend a little time with this ancient illustration from the height of philosophical debate in Europe. First, let's give this dog some shape. If it is tied to a cart, it should be a dog of some size, don't you think? Much larger than my little 10-pound Maltipoo. More like a working dog. Let's say a sheepdog, 50 to 70 pounds. Secondly, how long do you imagine the rope is? Do you think it could be maybe about 10 feet long? You know, long enough to allow for a quick, curious sniff, but not so long that the dog would be tangled up in other traffic on the road. And now that you have this image in your head, you can see that this dog has choices. She can trot willingly along with the cart, taking random opportunities to assuage her curious nose, and she can enjoy the exercise of the journey. And she more than likely has learned to avoid the wheels of the cart that can cause injury, and has grown familiar with the tug of the rope that defines her boundaries. She's choosing to live within the confines of her situation. But we know nothing of her owner in this story. But I choose to imagine that her owner is a kind animal lover. Circumstances demand that the animal trot alongside for whatever reason, be it the contents of the cart or the nature of the road, whatever the situation. The dog owner, who has the privileged vantage point to be aware of the pitfalls and the challenges, has determined that this is the best option for the dog. And this dog owner is attentive to the needs of the animal, stopping to allow her to rest, to hydrate, and to eat when necessary. Expecting the animal to work upon arrival, the owner is probably very familiar with the dog's capacity and providing for the dog's needs. A loyal pet owner, more than likely, is raising a loyal and cooperative pet. But let's consider a different scenario. As the parable describes, the dog who does not want to follow. No. Bless this poor, stubborn, strong-willed, and ultimately tormented animal. It is pulled and dragged and abused by the rope that is defining its boundaries. The dog is under the perception that its straining against the rope will actually change its circumstances. The result, however, is not to the benefit of the animal. The journey instead is exhausting and uncomfortable. And upon arrival, the dog is angry and bitter even, unfit for work or play. And what can we say of an owner who would drag the dog along? If indeed the owner is limited by the contents of the cart or the nature of the road, what options does the owner have? If the owner has a heart of compassion for the dog, it seems the best choice would be to end the relationship, to release the dog to care for herself, or to surrender her to another owner who doesn't have to travel. If the owner truly believes the dog cannot be rehabilitated to learn to enjoy the journey, given that the journey is necessary, it seems the animal has made the decision to sever the relationship. Heartbreaking as it may be, the owner must give the dog away, surrender her to her own will. My friends, what is your relationship to the cart to which you are tethered and its owner? Are you trotting alongside in compliance, cooperation, harmony? Or are you pulling against the restraints, insisting on your own way, and exhausted by the effort, and angered by the unfairness of your circumstances? The psalmist today reminds us to put our perspective in order according to capital T, truth. Not our small perception of reality, not our 10 feet of rope that limits our capacity to see or taste or touch or smell or feel our world, not our interpretation of the sensory world that is filtered through faulty thinking, self-limiting beliefs, and internalized judgments. The psalmist reminds us, by the word of the Lord, the heavens were made, and all the hosts by the breath of God's mouth. The Eternal One gathered the waters of the sea as in a bottle and put the deeps into storehouses. Is your God big enough to put the waves that topple you, that draw you under head over heels, gasping for breath and rendering you helpless? Can your God put those waves in a bottle? Can your God, the one you worship, the one you pray to and believe in, put the depths of your fear the breadth of your sorrow into a storehouse. Note, the scriptures do not necessarily say that God will calm the waves or eliminate the depths. No. The scriptures reassure us that God is greater than the waves and deeper than the depths. And if we believe this and remember that our God is big enough, then when circumstances that seem to have power to waylay us, and from our short-sighted, limited, tethered perception, we may think we are overcome. But our faith follows willingly. We surrender, believing that God is acting outside of our limited perception, working beyond the realm of our 10-foot radius. Ultimately, we must die to our perceptions. We die to our faith in our capacity to control the situation. We die to the idea that our perceptions, our way of seeing the world, is the only way of seeing the world. And we agree to walk alongside the cart. We accept the limitations of the 10-foot rope because we believe God has the other end. If our God is not big enough, if our will, our perceptions of the world, our desires are too big to see around, then we are pulling against this tether. We are gasping for air. And we are fully engulfed in fear, striving to manage circumstances that are out of our control will leave us exhausted, angry, unfit for work or play. And the psalmist tells us that all of it is out of our control. The writer says to the people of ancient days and to us that kings are not saved by armies, and warriors are not delivered by strength, and war horses are vain hope. All of our possessions, all of the things that we think are going to make us happy, all the things that we think will give us victory over our struggles, will leave us wanting on the days when sorrow overwhelms, when pain engulfs. Dear church, we are delivered by a God whose word is right. And all of the work of God is done in faithfulness. We serve a God who is driving the cart and watching out for our needs. Our God is providing our sustenance, allowing us to rest, seeing the pitfalls in the road, and navigating us through them. There's something so mysteriously beautiful, non-rational, yet remarkably sensible about accepting the unavoidable consequence of life, i.e., death. All of our efforts to hold on to what we have will not negate the truth that those things are not really ours. in the broad view that the Spirit inhabits far, far beyond the 10-foot radius of our sensory perception, death is the unavoidable consequence of life. And my friends, in this truth is hope. Truly, the eye of the Lord is on those who fear God, in those who hope in God's steadfast love, to deliver their soul from death and to keep them alive in famine. So who is keeping us alive? Who has authored resurrection? Who has the perspective to see the road ahead, to see the dangers, the unexpected turns? My friends, it is in dying to ourselves, surrendering our desire to drive the cart, or in my friend's case, the airplane, and our perception that we can control the outcome by striving or resisting or insisting or struggling. Dying again today to our misplaced faith in the small God of our self-will. And then, dear church, God can tend to you, provide you time to rest, hydrate your weary soul, and comfort your tired feet. It is in this faith that only through dying can we truly live. Amen. Please tell me.